In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Welcome back to my channel Nadir Hussain AR. Today we are going to discuss Redux Toolkit query integration. Basically, we are actually going to integrate it into a real project. So, let's discuss the outline. First, we are going to discuss the introduction. Then we directly will move to the setup, and after that we will see its benefit in comparison with our manual approach of using Redux thunk asynchronous approach and use effect, right? And at the end we will also see that how we will deal with the refresh token use case and how we are going to customize some of the basic functions. Okay, the first thing first, the introduction. I will give you just a single line introduction about RTK query. It is basically a data fetching and data caching tool. That's it. So it eliminates the need to handwrite logic, basically data fetching and caching logic yourself. It facilitates you. It basically does things automatically, and so that developer can focus on the main business requirements or the product requirements. Here this is a basically official documentation, and this is very good page, Redux Essential Part 7, which basically discusses almost everything about RTK query, its motivation, and how to set up right in detail. So let's move to our target. As we have discussed that it is a data fetching and caching tool, so let's see how to set it up without going into further theory. As far as its setup is concerned, basically it is part of Redux toolkit. No additional integration installation required. So it is integrated part of Redux toolkit itself. And the crucial part or the central part of setting up RTK query is create API function. So let's discuss that how it is used. So you are going to define this create API. You can see that we are using React version of toolkit, right? And this create API is one method, and second method is fetch base query, right? Okay, so as create API is the core of the RTK query. So let's see what are its input params. The first param is reducer path. This name is going to be used to be configured into the store, right? That where data belonging to this API is going to go into the basically store. So this name will be used to configure into the store. The other important thing is that parameter is base query. So by default toolkit comes with fetch base query method, which is a basically wrapper over the native fetch method. We use basically the fetch method in the JavaScript or React, right, to fetch the response from the API. So fetch base query is simply a wrapper over that, right? However, this can be customized to fulfill your needs. We are going to come to this point shortly. First, let's see that fetch base query basically requires base URL, and here you can basically configure your headers as well. What can be configured in headers? It can be headers dot set like content type, which basically in case of Axios we used to do this in the interceptors, right? Here application slash JSON or stuff like that, right? And by the way, token is also set into the headers, right? So we are going to come to this. The other parameter is tag types. These tag types are defined basically to manage the cache data, that when these tags basically are used, that when to invalidate that or when to basically refetch when there is a need to refetch, right, already cache data related with this. So the other thing is defining set of endpoints, right? You can directly define set of endpoints in this create API file, or in order to basically maintain the code to make it maintainable, right, we can inject endpoints separately into the separate file as well. I will show you. So these endpoints basically enable RTK query to generate the relevant hooks that can be used into the UI components. After this, basically, so main important things are defining base query and the endpoints. These are basically some flags related with behavior of cache data, right? Like refetch on focus, refetch on reconnect, or when component mounts or arguments change, then you have to refetch. And this is the keep unused data for the duration of the basically cache data. Okay, so we have now defined this our base API through create API. This should be one thing, important thing is that this should be one per base URL throughout the application. So if you are maintaining just one server, right, in your application, then create API should be large, ideally should be it should be used just once, right? Okay, now we are going to come to our features and define the specific APIs here. So we are building above this API, right? We are going to use this base API and inject endpoints, right? These endpoints can simply be defined here as well. However, I basically kept it empty so that code is maintainable. And in case of products feature, I am going to inject product related endpoints, and similarly onboarding related endpoint can be injected into the onboarding files. So it becomes easy to really relocate APIs and to maintain them. So here we are defining endpoints. So endpoints are basically of two types: queries, which are basically get APIs. They are written by builder objectives. In both case, mutations are queries, right? This is get API. So here is the tag. We had defined tag types here. These tag types are used here. Provide tags, and in case, so this is get endpoint, get products. Then we are defining add product, which is basically post, which is defined through mutation, builder dot mutation. And this is which is going to be return type data of the type of the return data, and this is going to be input, right? In case of get, it is fetching all post all products. So this is array of products, and input is void. And in case of adding a product, the input is basically this product without ID, because ID is assigned when product is added to the backend. Here is interesting part. So basically RTK query automatically generates hooks related with these endpoints that we have defined, and then these hooks can be used easily can be used into the components. Let's see their usage as well. Here I go into the product detail. So we are referring this using this use lazy, let me check, product API, right? This use lazy basically related with queries or get APIs. We have two kind of a hooks. One is the lazy one, which basically will be invoked on some action, right? And use get products query can automatically load whenever you basically use it into the hook without requiring any user action. So use lazy get product query hook is returning this function, and it is returning this flag as well. So you see that how simple this is. This is giving us the flag, and it will tell us that when the data is being fetched and when it is completed. We have to write no logic, absolutely no logic. This is being provided us by the RTK query, and everything is managed by RTK query. So here we can use this flag that if it is true, then we are going to show some sort of spinner or state that indicates that data is being fetched. And if this was error result, error is true, then we are going to show the error. UI is simple to just understand you. Our topic is basically RTK query, not the UI. and then if it is data, I am simply just printing it in the form of a string, right? So you see, we simply call this hook, which is generated automatically by RTKQuery, and we have to write absolutely no logic related with async thunks. So here this is the benefit, right? So let's compare it with the old asynchronous approach. In asynchronous approach, what we used to do is that we used to define use effect hook, right? And here we used to call API, and before API we used to set some is loading flag in the state, right? Set is loading true, and API used to be fetched, then is loading is false. So everything we used to manage ourselves and we have to write the code, right? But now everything is managed by RTK query. So this is the benefit. We have to write absolutely and let me show the configurations, right? The one logical step was that before using this these hooks, we have to configure our API into the store. So let me cover that step as well. In the store, here you see in reducers list we are providing reducer path, right? Which I had already mentioned that this is the reducer path, and middleware is by default configured, and we are just appending or concatenating middleware related with the base API in this, and we are also keeping the default middleware, which is going to be Redux thunk, right? And we have absolutely so this is by default configured. We have to write no code to configure the thunk by ourselves. So this is the beauty of RTK query. No action creators being used, being created by us, by engineers, right? No configuration of thunk middleware, it is by default there, and no is loading flag, management of the is loading flag and stuff like that. So these are the benefits. This makes it very easy and very simplified process of API integrations. So now we have covered all cases. The last one is that how we are going to cover basically refresh token thing. So here in the base API, in the headers, we have another parameter get state as well. So we can use this get state to set the token. Usually token is saved into it should come get state. Okay, here basically we have to first define get it as, you can see the syntax anywhere. So here we can now access the state of the our store profile dot token, right? So how to refresh this token? Let me basically show you the logic that how it works. We have discussed everything. This is the diagram of the refreshing token. So basically whenever user logins, they get two tokens. One is token, the other is refresh token, right? The duration of refresh token is normally longer than this token because this token will expire early, right, here on that state. Then in order to refresh that token, we use this refresh token into the API of refresh token. This is API endpoint, API /auth/ refresh token. Here we are going to use this refresh token to get our new token, right, this one, and then this new token is used with the request. So now let's see, I will provide all these links into the description of this video. So let's see how this is now going to work. So in base API, we use this fetch base query provided by RTKQuery, but we can customize this in this way. This is again I have taken from the documentation. Base query with reauth, it is simply going to use this fetch base query inside, right? And if the result is 401, it means unauthorized access. Then we have to call this API, refresh token API, right, and get the result. Once that result is available, then we have to update our token into the store, and then that can be accessed into the headers. This is a way through customization of base query we can handle the refresh token scenario as well, and mutex is used to avoid multiple calls to this refresh token API. So I hope everything is clear to you. We have covered a lot of scenarios. If I have skipped something or you need more help, you can comment on this video and we will cover the remaining topics related with RTK query as well. Thank you very much.